I like pretty girls. Girls, 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 girls. I love pretty girls. Girls, girls.
This shit sound like ass. Is Will Smith's career broken? Will Smith just isn't the same, man. Captain Midnight.
Captain Midnight.
So I wasn't sure how many people were paying attention to Will Smith's return to music. Turns out, maybe a lot more of you than I thought. His new song, Pretty Girls, is getting a lot of views and is also being roundly mocked online and even in its comments section. And look, I have made 2 videos now talking about Will Smith's career.
Wait, we gotta see it. I didn't know about this. Will Smith, Pretty Girls. All right. 11 days ago, 1.6 million views. All right.
It's been a problem ever since I was a little boy, you know. Actually, I think it's gotten worse.
I don't like this, bro. I don't like the fact that ever since the slap, bro, the slap heard around the world, Will Smith has just been a shell of his former self. He's just been this, like, he's just constantly in this vulnerable, self-loathing, self-pitying kind of energy. It's like, nigga, you fucked up, bro. Okay, move the fuck on, man. Shit, life goes on, nigga. Everybody fucks up.
Can you make me understand?
I like pretty girls. Girls, 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 girls. I love pretty girls. Girls, girls.
This shit sound like ass.
Girls, girls. I like pretty girls. Girls, 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 girls. I love pretty girls. Girls, 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 girls. You don't gotta wait in line tonight. You too fine for the line tonight. 5 + 5, you a dime tonight. It's a full house, better play your cards right. I'ma post your pick.
Nah. Okay, I see why people clowning the song. I thought niggas was just hating to hate because it's Will. But the song is trash. The song is ass.
Career. And I made those videos not to mock him, but because I really
Speed shit was better.
like him as an actor and have considered myself a fan since like 5th grade, watching endless episodes of The Fresh Prince on Nick at Night. So I wanted to jump
He
back
sees himself as a small person. Good catch. You saw that imagery represented in the video.
into the world of Will Smith and where I'd like to see his work go from here, because I think it's clear that the 2020s have been kind of an uphill battle for his career for obvious and often very self-imposed reasons, but I would very earnestly like to see him turn that around. So let's take a look at where things stand now and what could change. Before I do, thanks to everyone who subscribed. I know the Fallon video seemed to be bringing in a lot of new people lately, so if you have suggestions for what you'd like to see covered, let me know in the comments below. I'm always happy to read them.
Meet Oscar. In Shark Tale the game, there are 25 enormous levels where you can...
But alright, Pretty Girls. So I saw this basically right when it went up, before there was any big online backlash to it, and I mean, yeah, it's not very good. Now, I'm not going to pretend to be Anthony Fantano here. If you're looking for takes on how this song fits into the contemporary landscape of hip-hop, you're not really going to find them. But I will say, when I first heard this song, I just thought it was a corny attempt to recapture the kind of fun, feel-good dance songs he had success with like Switch, which, you know, is also a really corny song, but I enjoy it a lot more. But this one is a little different. It seems to be riding this strange line where it wants to be horny while maybe being the single least horny song I've ever heard. Like I said, it's not very good. I'm not going to spend this whole video on Pretty Girls because I don't find it that interesting, but it does seem like an attempt to hold on to something and recapture the kind of fun, low-stakes hits he's had in the past, like Miami. His magnum opus there is definitely Summertime, and if I had one big criticism of...
Now, Miami was a good fucking song. Y'all know about Miami? Oh my God, man. Bro, this is what I'm telling you. Life is all about energy, bro. He just had the fucking aura right here, bro. I don't know
right, Tone, get the
how to help him to get that shit back.
Yeah. Miami. South Beach, bringing the heat. Can y'all feel that? Can y'all feel that?
You know? Because he's still kind of goofy too here, but he had the Will Smith just fucking Men in Black aura, bro.
Jig it out. Here I am in the place where I come let go. In Miami, the bass and the sunset low. Every day like a Mardi Gras. Everybody party all day. No work, all play, okay? So we sip a little.
Yeah, bro. I remember hearing this shit on the radio in the car with my dad, man. That brings back memories. Man, it sucks. It sucks to see him go through this.
Pretty Girls that goes beyond the surface level of this just being kind of an embarrassing music video to make it 56 years old. It's that it lacks any of Summertime's sense of specificity. That song effectively paints a vivid picture and a real sense of place, which really helps out those great vibes in a way that something more generic like this just can't manage. But really, Pretty Girls is maybe the least interesting of his recent music videos. He has this really odd video for Interior Barbershop, which he plays a bunch of different characters all weighing in on the state of his own career, none of whom will bash him to his face. And this is a much more interesting document. Same with his song with Big Sean, which sees the pair in a recreation of The Matrix, a movie that Smith famously turned down. Speaking of turning things down,
it's like this nigga celebrating his L's. My God.
Discussion around Pretty Girls was an interview where he talked about his regrets about Inception, which he was apparently offered.
Just a regret toward it, bro. This nigga is in a fucking genjutsu of depression, bro. This nigga he is so in his head and is just constantly beating himself up in his head.
And did not do.
Sad.
I'm assuming he was offered the Leo role, which I think clearly would have been huge for him. When I look at all these interviews he's doing lately and consider it alongside this recent album cycle, which feels a bit defensive in songs like Interior Barbershop, and trying to remind us all what we liked about him with Pretty Girls, which, let's be honest, feels like a past its sell-by-date holdover from his Fresh Prince persona, it paints a picture, at least to me, of an artist that's trying to figure out where he fits into this current landscape. And here's the thing, it's not like people have totally turned their back on his movies. They haven't. The Bad Boys series stuck with Smith after the embarrassment that was, The Incident, and it paid off big for them. Bad Boys Ride or Die was a solid hit on a large, if not superhero-sized budget, so he still has a franchise going strong, and that's extremely hard to come by in Hollywood. Something that comes up in every Will Smith video I make is how safe he seems to play it with the roles he chooses, and how frustrating that can be.
This is what Will need to do. First, he needs to fucking lose some weight, bro. He needs to get back to at least this level of body fat percentage. Round face Will is not working, nigga. It's like a physical manifestation of his own internal self-destruction and in disgust. Have some pride in yourself and let that reflect in the way you look.
Now, The Matrix and Django Unchained were the big examples back then. But honestly, I think both of those are understandable to pass on, at least on some level. Like, Matrix was from two new directors that only had one movie under their belt, doing something super ambitious on a scale they'd never done before. Django Unchained is just a very hard-edged and abrasive movie for Smith, and honestly I totally respect if he just wasn't comfortable with that kind of material. But Inception? Like, really? I found this way more embarrassing than a bad music video. Like, if he is completely on the level about this, and he had the opportunity to say yes to Inception, a Chris Nolan movie who is coming off of The Dark Knight at the time, that's just baffling to me. Now, Smith has said that movies like The Matrix and Inception don't pitch well, and I can see that being the case. They're not as straightforward as your average summer blockbuster, but at a certain point, it's like, why not just trust Chris Nolan to know what he's doing? And I get that that's a bit of a risk, but I don't see how it's a bigger one than agreeing to do 7 pounds. I don't want to make it sound like Will Smith has avoided working with great directors his whole career. That's not the case. He's not in my favorite Michael Mann or Ang Lee movies, but he has worked with them. But I think it is true, and confirmed by his memoir Will, that he has very set elements he wants in place before he signs on to a project. Now, I've gone over this in the past, so I won't linger on it too much here. I will say though, I think it's something that has to change. Like sure, if there's a good script for Bad Boys 5 on the table, do that, but at the same time, I think he just has to lean into taking some stranger roles too. Take a look at Dwayne Johnson. I know people love to bash The Rock and say he plays the same character in every movie, and they're often right about that. To be clear, I like Will Smith as an actor a lot more. But when 2 big movies that Johnson had really been banking on underperformed, Black Adam and Red One, it became clear that something needed to change. And to The Rock's credit, I think, his next movie is The Smashing Machine, a pretty interesting looking biopic of a troubled MMA fighter from one of the directors of Uncut Gems and Good Time. It's too early to say if this will be a great movie, but I think it's a sign that Dwayne Johnson is comfortable with stepping out of his comfort zone and doing a smaller movie where
That shit looks good. I ain't gonna lie to you.
he's not playing a guy in a jungle explorer outfit. I think Smith really needs that as well. Don't get me wrong, it's not like he only does action movies, but the dramas he tends to pick, like Concussion and even King Richard, tend to be very stylistically safe, down the middle, yeah, I'll say it, Oscar bait. I'd like to see him pop up in a movie I just never expect Will Smith to agree to be in, but maybe he has such a specific vision for his movie career that that's just not possible. Another factor here is what I'd call the William Shatner problem. Specifically, William Shatner as James T. Kirk in the first Star Trek movie. I won't go down a whole rabbit hole about this, like you can probably turn to Red Letter Media for that. One thing that's clear watching that movie is it's not comfortable acknowledging how much Shatner had aged since the 60s TV show by the late 70s. When you look at these recent music videos, and even the new Bad Boys movies to an extent, I think there's a tendency as actors age these days to try to just let them play it off like they're eternally, I don't know, maybe 36 forever. And yes, that is a lot easier to do now than it was in the 70s. But eventually, I think it does catch up to you, and I don't think it's something that actors should run away from. And when the next Star Trek movie acknowledged Kirk's age and built that into the narrative with Wrath of Khan, it worked incredibly well and helped kickstart a successful new era of Shatner's career. Because Star Trek II didn't try to deny what was plain for the audience to see, that time had gone by since 1968, and that had an impact on who Kirk was as a character and who Shatner was as an on-screen presence. Obviously, this is not a one-to-one comparison or anything, but I think Will Smith needs a great movie that does something similar. It doesn't have to abandon his on-screen movie star persona, but I do think it has to be updated a little bit. There's nothing wrong with aging into the more elder statesman role as an actor. In fact, there's often a lot of great roles to be found there.
Yeah,
now, to be fair, the recent
for
Bad
sure.
Boy movies have tried
Bro,
to...
some of my favorite performances from actors have been men in their 50s and 60s and even 70s. Look at Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman has been so good for so long. That nigga's almost 90 years old now. That's why you don't see him in movies anymore. I think he's in his 80s. Let me double check that. Yeah, Morgan Freeman is 88 years old right now. And so, I mean, I think that nigga probably didn't even blow up until he was already 60 plus years old. So there is still plenty of shit for Will to do, but he first has to overcome the only obstacle that's in his way, and it's the fucking negative self-talk that he has in his mind.
acknowledge it where they can while keeping the exact same formula intact. And with King Richard, it looked like he was kind of okay going more in that direction.
I loved this movie personally. King Richard, I thought this was a great movie.
In a lot of other ways, it just seems like he's determined to hold on to his 90s and 2000s persona with an iron grip. Pretty Girls would not have been a great song in 2001 either, but it would at least feel a little less embarrassing. I don't mean to sound too harsh, it's just really strange to watch a video he put out last year, The Truth About Making Music Again, where he alludes to all these big changes in his life and his mindset that inspired him to want to make more music, and how, quote, truth started pouring in from all angles, and for the result to be songs like this. Music with really absolutely nothing to say. Like, it's not a huge deal, but it's clear, at least so far, that he doesn't really want to open up about his personal life that much on this album, beyond songs like Interior Barbershop, which are mostly about his public image. And look, I really try to stick to people's work and not their personal lives in these videos. It's just so much of this music seems to be dancing around that stuff without outright confronting it, which I guess is fine, it's completely his choice to make, but it also makes for a very strange listen, as the songs he's released so far kind of bounce back and forth between generic love songs, poppy dance music that he's a little bit too old to pull off, and stuff like Interior Barbershop where he's acknowledging the slap without giving us any more insight into it.
Yeah, I feel like the only way you can pull off making that kind of music as you get older, you got to go one of two ways, right? One, like, you got to either have the momentum built in already, like a guy like Future. Future, I think, is... How old is Future? Future age. Future's 41. But he's still the fucking player guy because he's riding off the momentum of what he's built over the last 2 decades of being that guy. So he can keep making music like that, no problem. Will Smith had this huge hiatus from music. He got married. He became a family guy. He wasn't really dropping any music. You know what I'm saying? And so at this stage of his life, the only making music about women, I feel like he has to go with like Kenny Rogers, just love music. But that's the thing. This nigga is married to a fucking demon. How can he make love music where he's just talking about having that mature, deep love for his woman when she is literally the spawn of Satan, bro? You know what I'm saying? So, and he's not really a singer either. Kenny Rogers is a singer. So
it's just a really odd mix, and I will be a little surprised if the final release is that well received. I mean, maybe I'll be wrong. I kind of doubt it, though. In the end, I'm a lot more interested in Will Smith the actor than Will Smith the musician, and I hope he's able to lock down some roles, even if they're in smaller movies, where he can express a lot of these feelings through acting, where I do think his range is underrated. He has a few things in the works, like I Am Legend 2 and a crime film for Netflix, but I really hope there's still something big and different down the line for Will Smith, because he's at a really fascinating point in his film career, and I do think all he needs is the right director and the right script to tap into that.
Yeah, man, shit. I'm a big Will Smith fan, always have been, and I'm not going to switch up on my nigga just because he going through this rough patch. I'm hoping he can somehow turn shit around and in the back quarter of his Hollywood career, make some really fucking good movies. I'm not holding my breath for music. I just, I don't know if he does get a hit song going, though. Good for him. I'm not ruling anything out. But I think where he can still make a huge impact culturally, artistically, is with the movies or a TV show even. And so I hope he's able to get himself right mentally, lock in, and just make some real good shit, man. This nigga is one of the richest dudes in Hollywood. Produce that shit yourself if you got to, bro. I don't fucking know. But yeah, man, I'm rooting for Will. Well, he's given us way too much good shit, bro. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the Men in Black series, Hancock. You know what I'm saying? Just so many, fucking, what was that movie, 7 Pounds? The one that he did with Jaden when Jaden was real small. The Pursuit of Happiness. Bro, it's so much this nigga has done. So much. It can't all just end like this, bro. It can't end on such a bad note. Bad. Not over a fucking bitch like Jada. Not over him slapping Chris Rock, bro. Nah, you need to get over that shit. You know what I'm saying? Bad Boys, Hitch, I Am Legend. Fuck, bro. Come on, Will. You better than this, bro. You one of the GOATs for real. He just needs to wake up, bro, and stop this pity party bullshit, nigga. Get over it, bro.